Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're going to completely flip the script on how you think about wealth. What if I told you that the way most of us look at money, how to earn it, save it, spend it, is just completely backwards? We're taking a deep dive today into why our bank accounts are almost entirely driven by emotional decisions rather than logical, clean math equations. If you want to unlock a whole new level of financial freedom, you've got to realize that this whole thing isn't really about spreadsheets at all. It's about how we as human beings process money up here in our brains.
Seriously, think about this for a second. How does a guy like Mike Tyson blow through $400 million? He made an absolutely astronomical amount of money during his boxing career, and what did he do with it? Well, he bought pet tigers, he literally bought a $2 million bathtub, and then he went completely, entirely bankrupt. He actually ended up $23 million in debt. How does that even happen? Now, it's super easy for us to sit back and judge. But here's the reality. Tyson wasn't dumb. He just didn't understand the mental game of money. He didn't know the stuff that, quite frankly, no one ever teaches us in school. Okay, let's dive into this. Over the next few minutes, we're going to map out our roadmap for solving this mindset puzzle. We'll be looking at the mental game of money, escaping the envy trap, defining your enough, weathering unexpected storms, and finally, building the ultimate financial system. Starting off with Section 1, the mental game of money, and why, honestly, no one is actually crazy. When you see someone dump their life savings into some random meme coin or finance a brand new car on a crazy 7-year loan when they're barely making rent, it is so easy to judge them. But let's look at two totally different financial worldviews. On one side, imagine a person who grew up right in the middle of the 2008 financial crash. They watched their parents lose their jobs, maybe even lose their family home. To them, the stock market represents pure pain and fear. On the flip side, you've got someone who watched Bitcoin rocket from $500 to $60,000. To them, making high-risk bets doesn't feel reckless. It feels like pure genius. Now sure, between 1920 and 2020, the US stock market returned an average of 10% per year. That looks like a perfectly smooth line on a graph, right? But real life felt like absolute chaos through depressions, world wars, and market crashes. The point is, everyone's financial behavior makes perfect logical sense to them based on their own lived history. Once you really get this, you stop judging other people, and you can finally start forgiving yourself for your own weird money habits.
Moving on to Section 2, escaping the envy trap and playing your own game. We've all been there. You're scrolling through social media, you see some 22-year-old making these wild, massive crypto moves, and you suddenly question your entire life strategy. You start thinking, wait, am I doing this all wrong? And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why that mindset is a trap. Imagine you're sitting at a poker table in Vegas. You've got the tourist, right? They're just playing for fun and will happily lose $200 to have a good story. Then you have the pro, who's thinking 10 moves ahead because this is literally how they pay their mortgage. And then you've got the drunk guy. Pure chaos, going all in on every single hand. Now, imagine you try to copy that drunk guy's strategy just because you saw him win one lucky hand. That is exactly what you're doing when you blindly follow viral finance content. You're trying to play a game that simply isn't yours. Look, some of your friends are saving for retirement, some are trying to buy a house, some are just stocking cash for a vacation. You have to know what game you are playing and just ignore the rest of the noise. But man, ignoring that noise is tough, mostly because of what's called the man in the car paradox. We've all been sitting at a red light, seen a roaring Ferrari pull up, or scrolled past a video of a modern house with a crazy infinity pool and thought, wow, I really want that. We fantasize about owning these expensive things because deep down we think they'll earn us admiration and respect from others. But here's the funny truth about human psychology. People are only admiring the objects, not the owner's character. Nobody looks at the guy driving the Ferrari and thinks, wow, he must be such a responsible, generous, upstanding guy. No, they literally just think, I want that car so I can look cool. Status only buys surface-level attention. People might envy your shiny new car, for sure, but they actually admire your character, your kindness, and your consistency. All right, on to Section 3, defining your enough to survive the greed trap. Take the story of Rajaratnam, a billionaire hedge fund manager. This guy was set for life. I'm talking private jets, mega mansions, hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank. But he got caught up in one of the biggest insider trading scandals in history. Why? Simply because he wanted more. He didn't need it, his ego just wanted it. At the highest levels, greed completely ruins billionaires, but it happens to everyday people all the time too. Daniel Kahneman really hit the nail on the head here. At some point, chasing more money stops being about financial security and starts being about playing a super dangerous status game. Think about it.
You might start out targeting a really sensible 10% return on your investments. But then you see some guy on Reddit make 30% in a single week, and suddenly your perfectly good, rational plan feels like trash. Greed whispers in your ear just a little more, leading you right into reckless options trading and super risky bets. And the second the market turns against you, your entire plan is completely wrecked. So, what's the fix here? You have got to define your finish line. You have to decide right now what your enough actually is. Maybe for you, it's hitting $50,000 in savings. Maybe it's being able to only work 4 days a week. Or maybe it's straight up retiring at 45. Whatever it is, make it concrete, make it real, and make it yours. Because if you don't define your target, greed steps in and becomes your boss. And I promise you, someone else on the internet is going to set that target for you. I mean, really, what is the point of building all this wealth if you never actually stop to enjoy it? Section 4. Time and unexpected storms, patience and protection.
Think of compounding kind of like a tiny tree. You walk past it every day, you barely even notice it's there. You come back a few years later, and it's still pretty small. But you come back a decade later, and suddenly it is this towering, massive, unstoppable thing, and you're left wondering, when on earth did that happen? That is the absolute magic of compounding. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is Warren Buffett's wealth journey. We hear about his success all the time, right? But did you know that when he blew out the candles on his 50th birthday, his net worth was right around $300 million? Today, he's worth well over $100 billion. Let that sink in. 99% of Warren Buffett's entire net worth came after his 50th birthday. We are naturally wired to think in these fast, linear, get-rich-quick terms. But compounding, it's slow, it's honestly pretty boring at first, but it is the invisible, unstoppable advantage of patience and consistency. But here's the catch. To let all that compounding actually do its thing, you have to survive. Picture driving down the highway. You check the weather, you have a full tank of gas, the music's playing, and suddenly, boom, out of nowhere, you blow a tire. That is exactly how life works. Stock market crashes, sudden job losses, totally unexpected medical bills. These things are the rule. They are not the exception. This is exactly why you absolutely need room for error. Think of it as a financial airbag built directly into your life plan just to absorb the impact of these unpredictable surprises. Look at long-term capital management back in the 90s. They were this massive hedge fund run by actual Nobel Prize-winning geniuses. They relied perfectly on the math, but they left absolutely zero margin for error. So what happened? A totally surprise event involving Russian bonds caused the entire multi-billion-dollar thing to collapse like a house of cards. Compare that to the survival strategy. This means saving slightly more than you think you need, never maxing out your credit cards, and before making any big move, always asking yourself, am I still going to be able to sleep at night if this goes totally wrong? Listen, the most underrated skill in money is not predicting the future. It's literally just survival. Expecting the detours ensures you stay in the game long enough to actually win the whole shebang. Finally, Section 5, the ultimate financial system, bringing it all together. Good money habits aren't just isolated tips. They're an entire system. Just like cooking, right? Salt all by itself isn't exactly a great meal. But blended with the right spices and ingredients, the dish is unforgettable. Let's move to Match A and see how this builds your financial armor. Compounding only works its magic if you can manage to stay in the game for the long haul. But to stay in the game, you absolutely need that room for error acting as a safety net for when life inevitably slaps you sideways. And the only way you maintain that safety net is by clearly defining your enough so you avoid taking totally dumb, unnecessary risks fueled by greed. These principles stack perfectly on top of each other to protect you from your own worst instincts.
Okay, hard truth time. And this might sting a little bit, but just knowing all of this, it literally means absolutely nothing. Knowing doesn't equal doing. It is so incredibly easy to sit here, consume this content, feel totally fired up, and then go back to your day and change nothing at all. It's exactly like going to the gym, sitting on a bench, watching everyone else lift heavy weights, and somehow tricking your brain into thinking that made you stronger. Most people actually know they should save a bit more and invest a bit earlier, but very, very few actually do it. Why? Because money isn't a spreadsheet. It's a deeply emotional game driven by our stress, our fears, and our egos.
Ultimately, the absolute most powerful money skill you can have isn't raw intelligence. It's behavior. It's about sticking to the basics day in and day out. Think long term. Stay incredibly humble. Consistently save more than you spend. Build breathing room or margin into your life. Don't chase the flashy things that other people are showing off online. Invest regularly. And maybe most importantly, keep your cool when everyone else around you is completely panicking. I know, none of this sounds super sexy or flashy, but the game of wealth is almost never won by the flashiest player on the field. It is won by the calmest, most disciplined person in the room. So, I'm going to leave you with a direct challenge. Out of everything we just talked about, what is the one single idea from this explainer that you are going to turn into real action today? Seriously, don't just nod along and scroll to the next thing. Pick one insight right now and go apply it to your real life. Because the exact moment you do that, you separate yourself from the crowd who just endlessly watches content, and you finally join the few who actually use it to rewrite their financial psychology forever. So, what's it going to be?